Chapter 1. The Whispering Dark. In the kingdom of Oakhaven, light was not a right, it was a luxury. The wealthy built solar manors, massive structures that drank the starlight, storing it in flawless crystal reserves. They never knew a true winter. But for the people of the Long Shadow, survival was a daily transaction, measured in soot and silence. Elara was the middle child, the one who saw everything but was rarely seen. Her father, Kalen, was a phantom of the man he'd once been. He was a disgraced alchemist who had gambled away his reputation and his family's future. Now, he drank fermented ichor, a volatile, luminous potion that turned his eyes a glassy yellow and fueled an endless, raging despair. He couldn't hold a job, not because he was incapable, but because the shadow in his mind was bigger than any task assigned to him. He was a small man who felt entitled to greatness, and when the world didn't give it, he took it out on the people closest to him. His wife's love, his children's peace. It was never enough. Every few months, Kalen would destroy a job, a home, a chance, and the family would pack. Another drafty shack, another tavern where Elara's mother, Mara, would scrub the floorboards until her hands bled, always humming a tune that sounded like hope, even when they were down to their last loaf of moldy bread. The grandparents lived in the city, in a place called the Radiance. They were the source-born, their lives sustained by ancient, stored starlight. When they visited, always when Kalen was gone, they smelled of lavender and clean heat. They brought woolen coats and polished boots, but their charity felt like a performance. They offered to take Mara back to the Radiance, but only if she left Kalen, and the shadow-born children, behind. Mara always said no, her smile fading. And Elara watched, a lump of cold obsidian forming in her chest. Help, it seemed, always came with conditions. Elara knew early on that her escape had to be of her own making. She started working when she was 7, cleaning chimneys in the summer and selling fire starters in the winter. She learned to spot silver in a crowded street, to bargain for a single copper piece. She learned to make herself small, invisible, so she could eavesdrop on conversations about alchemy and commerce and power. She saved every coin she could, burying them in a cracked pot beneath the oldest willow tree near whatever hovel they occupied. Winter came hard that year. The kind of cold that didn't just bite, it hollowed. The wind slipped through the walls as if they weren't there, and even the smoke from their fire seemed too thin to matter. Hunger settled in like a quiet guest no one acknowledged anymore. Kalen returned late, long after the last light had died. The door slammed open, letting in a rush of bitter air and something sharper, something wrong. His eyes glowed faintly, that sickly yellow shimmer, and his hands shook with a restless, volatile energy. Mara stood from where she had been sitting, her voice soft but steady. Kalen, what have you done? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Only fracture. By morning, there was nothing left to salvage. No coin, no bread, no promise of tomorrow. The small space they called home felt emptier than it had the night before, as if something unseen had been taken along with everything else. Mara sat by the door, her hands still in her lap, her song gone. The silence pressed in heavier than the cold ever had. Elara stood in the middle of it and felt something inside her shift. Not break, not shatter, settle, like molten glass cooling into something hard and unyielding. She stepped outside before the sun could rise, before questions could find her, before the weight of the room could pull her back in. The air cut against her skin, but she barely felt it. She did not look back. At the willow tree, the ground was stiff with frost. She dug with numb fingers until the cracked pot came free. Inside, the coins clinked softly against one another, small, insufficient, everything. She held them tightly in her fist. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was hers. And for the first time, Elara understood something with a clarity that left no room for doubt. No one was coming to save them. Not the Radiance. Not the Source-born. Not even hope. If there was a way out of the Long Shadow, she would have to make it herself.